Hello, this is Postdoc Chronicles week 106, and today we're featuring a game called Raji, an Ancient Epic. So this shadow dropped during the Nintendo Indie Showcase last week. There are a lot of games that usually do that. They get announced for the first time for the Nintendo Switch, and then they shadow drop exactly on the same day. So this, among I believe five other indie games, shadow dropped that day. Takeshi and Hiroshi, a short hike or a short trail or something like that. Evergate, Spiritfarer, and all these other things, and this caught the attention of many people because this came from an Indian indie developer called Nodding Head Games, and I played it. I'm sure I'm almost done with it. It's a fairly short game. It's like Prince of Persia, if you've played Prince of Persia. So it's like action platforming with a little bit of puzzles thrown in there, and it's very linear, just like of something like, for example, God of War. You go from point A to point B, and then on your way you get caged with this a lot of enemies, and then you get eventually you get, I believe, four weapons with three different elemental attributes. For every weapon. So, for example, you can have a bow that can have fire or electricity or ice, something like that. And then yeah, and then my only gripe, one of my main gripes, of course, is that I played it mostly handheld, and it's very tiny handheld. Man, I couldn't imagine how tiny it would be on the Nintendo Switch Lite, which I have, but I didn't try it there because on the regular Switch itself, it's so tiny, the character, and sometimes it's very hard. It's combo based, and you combo, you dodge, you combo, you dodge, and then it's very hard to sometimes to tell like which what your character is doing already with all the action, and then sometimes it's hard to dodge the enemies because they're really so tiny. But yeah, it's since it's by an Indian developer, so it's none of those, usually we typically get Greek or Norse or Roman mythology, something like that. But it's the first time that I've seen characters, coming from the Hindu culture, the Hindu religion of India. So it's very good. So the main character, her younger brother, Gulu, got kidnapped, and so Gulu's Didi, his older sister, Raji, the title itself, she has to save Gulu from from being kidnapped, and along the way she's guided by Madurga and Lord Vishnu, and they were the ones who gave her weapons and all those things. The fascinating part about the game is as you walk along, you have all these paintings that you can interact with, and then they tell you more, about the different characters in the Hindu religion. So it's very fascinating. But yeah, gameplay wise, it gets repetitive a lot. A lot of the enemies, even in different stages, they get recycled, and yeah, again, it's like I mentioned before, it's so tiny. It gets repetitive after a while. The puzzles are not that hard. It's also fairly linear, and again. There are also on the Nintendo Switch. There are a lot of slowdowns, frame rate stuttering, and so on. So I believe after an if they update this a little bit, zoom in a little bit on the action, I think it'll be better. But yeah, that's Raji for the Nintendo Switch. But anyway, I'm gonna also make this quick because in 20 minutes, already 1:40. I'm gonna watch a lecture online. But for the postdoc, I was finally able to solve, the problem with me running the different Parton shower models of in my qualification task, where I had to compare default Vinci and Dyer, and so the problem that I've been stuck with like for the past week is that when I run it locally, it runs fine, but then the moment I run it on the grid, I get some errors, and the weird thing is I don't get the error for all of them. I only get the error for the default and the dire option, not for the Vinci. So that was very weird to debug. And so what I did was I look at the log.generate. So usually this is a message, like a huge list of stuff in their information while it is running. So it tells you, but it's very dense, it's very full of information. So I basically compared where the problem failed and all those things, and then I found that on the default and on the dire, they're having the break segmentation fault problem, and since I was using soft QCD, it harkens back to the old problem that we had, whereby when once you use 8.3 on the then existing Athena, it gave us a segmentation fault error. So what I did was, so why was this doing the error when it should have already been fixed? So I had to make sure. So I looked for it. I had to make sure that I was using the correct Athena. It turns out that the things that I was running on the grid, for some reasons I don't know why, now I was able to run it, but when I was running it during the time, it was calling an older build directory, a build directory where when I was testing the hacks that Giancarlo was doing in order to fix the segmentation fault error. So I was unconsciously or inadvertently calling a build directory that doesn't work for soft QCD. There's like a later on where all the hacks or all the fixes that Giancarlo did for PKI 8.302 being incorporated to Athena. It was now in a more recent version. I believe it's 21.6.38. Once I use that build directory, then the grid ran fine. It didn't give me any error. So it was a simple fix, but yeah, it was really weird because Vincia was not having this. It was not having a segmentation fault error at all, because when I was trying to debug the soft QCT with a segmentation fault error, I was only testing it for the default mode. I wasn't looking at Dire and Vincia. So for some reasons, it also gave the same segmentation fault error for Dire, but for Vincia, it ran fine, as evidenced by the stuff that I ran on the grid. Okay, and also last week I met with Deepak and Sukanya for a catch-up dinner, and Deepak asked me to read a paper on Maverick Top Hunters, basically BLQ vector like quarks, and it says that maybe these things could there's a possible mode where they could decay into dark photons. So it's basically like a amalgamation or a sort of like a chimera of two different BSM, beyond the standard model physics. So on the one hand you have BLQs vector like quarks, on the other hand you have candidates for dark matter. And so Deepak asked me to read the paper, so I have it here. I'm still looking at it, and then he asked if I can do. I've tried converting a given Lagrangian to produce some UFO files, because basically there's a program called FineArts where you feed in a Lagrangian and it gives you a UFO model files that allows you to simulate these events on for example, MATLAB and all these things. So I'm trying to do that. So I told Deepak that I actually tried fine arts, but that was like when it was just beginnings. One of the series of tutorials I was able to do. I was able to recall it. You need to interface it with Mathematica. So I was able to do it before, but I told Deepak I haven't used it in an actual research setting, so I can't actually like recall it anymore. So I need to look back at the tutorial again. So that's what I did. I looked at the tutorial, and then now I'm looking at the paper and then listing the Lagrangian that they use, because the important thing is you have your Lagrangian and then you list all the free parameters that you need to input to your fine arts, so that he knows how to. No, not fine arts, I meant fine rules. Fine arts is for doing diagrams, but yeah, fine rules. So it will spit out UFO models, and then you need to input the different free parameters so that it knows what are the free parameters, the values that you need to input. So far I've seen the Lagrangian. So now you need to type in there the relationship with your free parameters and all the parameters being used in the Lagrangian. So I'm still gonna do that. But yeah, I'm still reading this paper actually, and then after that I'm gonna begin incorporating. It's a fairly long paper, but I'm gonna begin incorporating it on the fine rules, and then we can begin doing some phenomenological study on that. Okay, and then for the MUED project, still running in my. I don't know if you can hear it, but my over the past weeks, the fan of my MacBook Pro has not stopped running because of all the simulations it's been doing. So I'm almost on the tip part of the one of the parameters, and then it will afterwards it will iterate. But yeah, it's just like a waiting game, and then to see all the, so that it can scan all the parameters that we are interested in. But anyway, yeah, this has been Postdoc week number 106, and see you next time on week 107. Thanks for watching, and bye bye.